All right, joining me now on the Knicks Film School Podcast, someone who has been doing better, but I would like to say that I'm gonna be kind and gracious. I can't make those promises. He's the managing editor of Clutch Points app, and he is here in his capacity as co-host of the Cash Considerations podcast, part of course, the Blue Wire Podcast Network, covering the Bulls. Jason Patt, what's going on, my man?
As you said, could be doing better given the Bulls' state of things, and after just another heartbreaking defeat last night, this time at the hands of your New York Knicks at the United Center. Really, it was a tough one. We'll obviously talk all about it right now.
Dude, I think I was recording a pod. Yeah, I was recording a pod because what was the Hawks game was what night?
Well, Sunday night.
So then you know what it was? I was recording the post-game pod after we beat the Kings. And I was like, let me see what's on that I could have on in the background. And I was like, holy crap, this Bulls-Hawks game is really exciting. And then saw how that ended. And then I'm like, man, I said at the time, I'm like, I was kind of rooting for the Bulls because I didn't like our odds having a team that was coming off that loss going obviously home and then facing, a Knicks team that is still has a lot of uncertainty about it. And now I get to sit here and we got one win. I don't expect to get two wins, but we got one.
Yeah. The Hawks game, brutal finish. And that was after the Bulls had won 2 straight. So I was like, Bulls have a chance to win 3 straight, maybe get back up in the Eastern Conference standings a little bit. And then to lose these last 2 like this at the buzzer, AJ Griffin on that shot after DeMar hits 3 free throws. And then last night, I know they were playing from behind all last night. The Knicks came out and kind of whooped them to start. Bulls got back in it, but the Knicks were in control of most of that game. And they seemed like they were in control at the end there too. And then the Bulls made the little comeback with Julius Randle doing some odd things, even though he had a great game, but the last minute of regulation was not Julius Randle's finest hour.
No, it was not.
And then it was so funny because the AJ Griffin play, the Bulls then have that same opportunity after the Randle air ball gives them the ball. And they have 0.7 seconds and they try to do a similar kind of lob screen, not the same exact play, but they try to get it to Patrick Williams on a lob. You can argue whether there was a foul there. I was fine with no contact. They're both going for the ball. I'm not going to complain too much about that one. I know some people were whining. I think the broadcast
really okay.
The broadcast said no call. I was fine with no call. There was contact, but on that kind of play, like I said, when both guys are going up to try to block it, it's going to happen. It was all right. And then obviously the Knicks just dominated the overtime. The Bulls just couldn't do anything. And they got that nice lucky roll on that Quentin Grimes 3. He had some couple huge threes in that game last night.
We'll take the luck.
Yeah. And then just that end with just a pain in my heart watching Jalen Brunson absolutely cross over Alex Caruso. Made for some really good images. I know Knicks fans really enjoying that, but as a Bulls fan, just pure pain seeing Caruso, who did a great job defensively last night. He was asked to switch on to Julius Randle over and over and over again. He held his ground a lot. But then Brunson just giving him the business in front of his hometown fans in Chicago. I believe that's a Stevenson High School product. Jalen Brunson had a huge game coming off an injury himself. So he was in a walking boot and he comes out and puts up 30 points.
I had people theorizing to me, is he going to be out a month? Because it looked I don't know if you saw the injury. It looked really bad in the moment.
I did not see it.
Yeah, well, it looked bad in the moment because the guy, I forget who it was that fell on him, but rolled over onto his ankle. And Brunson immediately called for the bench to take him out of the game, which, if you know anything about Jalen Brunson, and we already know a lot about him here, that's not something he does. So, at the very least, I think most people were expecting him to miss this entire road trip. So both Bulls games, and then we play the Pacers during the weekend. But for him to come out and do that was really cool. And it's funny you mentioned the Randle Caruso switches that were happening because Knicks fans have been yelling ever since you guys got Caruso. This is not a matchup advantage. If Caruso gets switched on to you, what? That's what the Bulls want, And I don't think Randle has gotten the memo quite yet, but maybe for next time. We'll see what happens on Friday night when we play you guys again. I just want to kind of start with a brief, kind of setting the stage. So put the 2 heartbreakers to the side as much as you can. What is the general vibe right now? Because we hear a lot about how the Bulls are going to do this, the Bulls are going to do that. Are they going to try to blow it up and like try to tank the season? Like, where are the majority of the fans at right now?
I mean, I think a lot of them, based on like my mentions, are leaning towards more of the blow up thing. And I think playing into that is just the whole Lonzo Ball situation. We got another Lonzo update from Woj last night, and it was like, now there's no guarantee that he's coming back. There was always hope that maybe he would come back early 2023, maybe around the deadline or the All-Star break, obviously around there in February. But now just the reports that he's like still dealing with pain even after the second surgery. Again, always hope that if the Bulls could kind of just hold the course, weather the storm there, really tough schedule to start the year, and be maybe around 500. And then Lonzo comes back and maybe go on a push the rest of the season, and you get in the playoffs. And especially with the East right now, just being like the top is really good, but then like there's just the Knicks have kind of come up with this winning streak now, getting into that 6th spot, but like from basically 5 or 6 to down to 10 or 11, 12, like there's a lot of teams just kind of like whatever. And like maybe the Bulls could kind of rise up there, but like
the inverse of last year with you guys, when you started off, you're the best team in the East,
right?
For
exactly. Hoping for the opposite. But now, since that does not seem, at this point, I'm just assuming Lonzo is not coming back this season. It's such a bummer because the Bulls were really fun to watch with Lonzo. He makes them so much better. He's like the glue of the team with all he does on both ends. So now with that, and now with like Zach hasn't been as good this year. He's coming off his surgery. Vooch is in the last year of his deal. DeMar has still been good, but he's obviously still getting older. He's got 1 year after this. So it's like, where is this team going? Especially if Lonzo's not coming back. So a lot of people, I think, would be okay with them blowing it up. We have seen those rumors. Like a lot of teams are watching Chicago. Are they going to are they like the Lakers? Are they going to try like the Knicks, will they go after like
perhaps?
Or the Knicks? I think I saw Levine was like linked to the Knicks at some point.
Let's talk about that. Yeah. Because so first of all, just I like to make sure everybody's on the same page. So your guys' pick is obviously owed to Orlando from the Vooch deal this year. It's top 4 protected. So as has been said by other people, you guys could lose every game for the rest of the year, and it's still only a 50-50 chance you get to keep the pick. It's a tough spot to be in. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, that's why. What are you?
I personally am still like holding off because I just don't like tanking in general. I'm kind of just like, it does not help that the Bulls were really bad for whatever after trading Jimmy. They were awful. They were going nowhere. It was just a lot of bad basketball to watch. So then to like whatever, they were fun for the first 3 quarters of last season. I think that they have something there with Lonzo there, but with Lonzo out, that does kind of throw it off. So it's just like, I'm like, and this year they're not like they're 11-16. The record is not good, but the net rating, you guys like 16th in net rating because they're 3-11 in clutch games. Again, these last 2 games, 2 more clutch losses, just so many clutch losses. Again, the inverse of last season when DeMar was saving their ass every other game and they were great in the clutch. This year it's been the exact opposite, and now that's why you're 11-16. So like with this hard schedule with no Lonzo, like I still like talking to myself like, oh, the Bulls aren't that bad, like. And they're playing some of these toss-up games where they should win, but now, of course, they've lost the last 2 against the Knicks and the Hawks, and they got the Knicks again. And they play like Miami and Minnesota coming up. They play the Hawks again. It's like they need to start winning some of these close games against some of these other similar tiered teams. So like, I keep waiting for that to happen, for them to kind of get back into the mix and being like, I really don't want to blow it up. I'm not there yet. Like if they kind of bomb the rest of this month, then you get to a point where it's like, I mean, you got to do something. I mean, I want them to do something, but like in terms of like really blowing it up, like trade DeMar and Vooch, trade Zach, something like that. Like getting that drastic. I am not there. Like I said, I think a lot of fans are just because it's like, where is this going? But like, again, after watching so much bad ball after trading Jimmy, and then they finally have a good season, and now to just kind of back away from that already after a year. Again, the Lonzo thing makes it so much more unique because him just like being a total wild card, and when is this guy going to play ever again? That makes you definitely maybe go lean towards more of the blow it up camp. I'm not there yet, so we will see. Yeah,
10. What is it? We're recording this on Thursday night, so 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's say 11 and a half days ago, the Knicks got lambasted in the second half by the Dallas Mavericks at home in one of the more embarrassing performances that I've seen in my lifetime as a Knicks fan, which
there's been plenty.
Something. Let me tell you. And like the tone after that game, I mean, there was a lot of fire Tibbs, obviously.
Yeah.
You know about that.
Yeah, I do.
There was a lot of that, but there was also like, this has been a flawed plan from the beginning. It was ridiculous that when Leon Rose didn't take over, there wasn't more of an attempt to tank initially. There's still time to tank now. Like, this, that, and the other thing. Now it's, again, whatever. It's 11 or 12 days later. And it's like, all right,
here we go.
Let's go. Giddy up. So, I think I'd be with you. I feel like
the draft pick thing, as you mentioned, I didn't even mention that the draft pick being top 4 protected. So you have what? Even if, and there's all these other teams that are.
That's the thing is, it's if you really let's say you traded all 3 tomorrow, Vooch, Levine and DeMar, you're probably getting in the running for the top 4, but you're still probably going to have a 30.
Still a coin flip. I mean, at best, you're getting, I think I'd have to look at the numbers again, but it's basically 52 to 48, I think. So it's
and we haven't seen these tankers really tankety tank their way, to the top yet. And I think that's coming. Look, you probably get the Blazers pick this year, which would be, who knows where that's going to be? Might be
mid first.
Yeah. So mid first, exactly. And then, play out the season, see what happens, or at least play it out to the trade deadline, which is what I want to. Let's transition to that. So you mentioned the Levine thing. I don't even want to call it a rumor.
Yeah, I don't even remember where it was. I just remember
it was Woj on the pregame show where he's like, might the Knicks missed on Donovan Mitchell? They might be watching the Bull situation and Levine, who's not available right now. But it was just such an out of the blue thing. It doesn't seem like the thing that this front office would do, but that's neither here nor there where you're concerned. I'm just curious. You've watched Zach LaVine now for, was it 5 years?
Yep. They got him for Jimmy in 2017.
There you go. Yeah. Okay. Where are you? Because this guy was for a period of 2 or 3 years, one of the most efficient, high volume, high degree of difficulty, which is the thing I think people don't realize, the shots that he was taking and making when I don't need to tell you, I don't know, was he a top 15 offensive player in basketball? Was that maybe even a little higher? He was right there, but yet all of these questions I feel kind of lingered about well, is he a winning player and the defense and the decision making? And now there's the knee thing. Yeah. Where are you at on Zach LaVine as a player, as an asset? Just talk to me about that.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So, I mean, I was all for them maxing him out. I think people will probably there are people that disagree for sure. It's just again, everything you just said, basically with some of his flaws and stuff. But I mean, when you have a player like that, and where they were at, I mean, I think you just keep him. You max him, and then if you want to trade him, you trade him.
Figure it out later.
Yeah. Right? Yeah, you figure it out later. Obviously, the knee thing can throw a wrench into it. I mean, I don't have his knee exams and what it looks like. The Bulls know what that knee looks like. It has not started well this season for him. The numbers are down across the board, especially the efficiency stuff. You mentioned the efficiency, the last 2 seasons, he has been, top 5, top 10, in terms of high volume, high efficiency player, in terms of usage around 30, true shooting in the low 60s. I mean, there's just not many guys that can do that. This year it has not been nearly as good. And you have to imagine some of it's coming off this surgery. So then the question is just is this who he is now? He's had a couple knee surgeries, or is it just he actually does need some time? He's shown he had a 40-point game against the Kings the other day. He's shown a little more, his rim finishing was really bad to start the year. It has come back up. It's gotten a little better. 3-point shooting hasn't been there. It was not there last night. And also the clutch play, which he had a bad travel, I think, last night in the clutch. I think he had 1 or 2 baskets, but he had a couple misses.
That was a big moment, that travel.
Yeah,
because it felt like you guys were scoring every time down the floor, and then he got that, and I was like, okay, we breathed for a second. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, so I mean, the clutch thing has been really bad for him this season. One of the reasons why the Bulls have been so bad in the clutch. DeMar has come down a little bit. Zach has been terrible. His numbers, I know I tweeted this last night, he's shooting, I think 20% overall in the clutch on a decent volume, 2 of 17 from 3. And the decision making, the decision making has been a problem for him since basically the beginning. And it still has not gotten that much better. Having DeMar there helps because he can just control so much with the way he gets to his spots. Zach playing off him can be fine, but when you put the ball in Zach's hand in clutch time, you get stuff like that travel yesterday, and sometimes it just does not go well. The shots aren't great, just making poor plays and bad turnovers. So it's like, I just don't know if he's ever going to get that much better there. So obviously then you're just like you have the questions like, is this guy, can you really build long-term around this guy? Like, can he be your number one guy? I mean, is he realistically like the number one on a title team? Probably not. Absolutely not. But like, still, he's a really good player. As if he can get back to where he was before as a 25 to 25-ish point per game scorer on like a 60% true shooting. And with his flaws, that's still a really good number 2 or number 3 option. Just that so far right now, it just hasn't been good. And the crunch time stuff has been absolutely brutal. So it's like, they got him for 5 years now. They got him a full-blown max deal. It's not like they're rushing to any trades here. Like he's probably, that's why I don't think he's getting traded this year. I'd be shocked if they traded him in the first year of a 5-year max. If anything, they look to move Vooch in that expiring or maybe DeMar. They don't have to rush into a Zach trade. That's why, like when I saw like when Bill Simmons brought up like Zach for Obi Toppin and a protected pick, I'm like, what? Like, that's just ridiculous. Like, I'd rather just keep him. Like, that's just not getting any value for the guy who just gave $215 million or whatever. So like stuff like that, just absolutely not. But it is a question with him just because he has not been as good. You just have to hope that he gets back to where he was before, or at least close to it after this knee surgery.
I feel like the only way, if you're the Bulls, that you would really consider a trade this season is if, as you were alluding to, there's something in those meds that is just not good.
Or if some team actually does come and like throw you a huge, like whatever, 3 or 4 firsts, like a Donovan Mitchell trade offer, then maybe think about it. But like, again, like Obi Toppin and 1 first round pick. Yeah. Like I'm not doing that.
I'm thinking back to like, and this is not apples to apples, but like the Blake Griffin trade to Detroit, where that was the first year of the max extension and he got traded for Tobias Harris, who very good player, a little bit different skill set. You could argue that like in some ways it fit. It was like a more malleable skill set than Blake Griffin in terms of just fitting into like different teams. And then it was a pick that ended up being whatever, it was a Miles Bridges pick. So it was like 10th or 11th, I forget, or 12th, something like that. But it was like, was that a great trade package? Like, no, it was pretty clear that like, okay, they signed that deal and they were pivoting to go in this direction where they wanted cap space and the whole thing. So I don't know. Like the crazy thing is like after the report came out, like I for different reasons, I'm like, I don't think the Knicks should be in the Zach LaVine market right now for where they are. And I'm like, but because like, what would it take? It would take more than I'd want to pay, I think. So I think this is a situation where I think like, the Bulls, I would want a ton with where he's at and what he's showing right now. I just don't know if teams would be willing to give up that ton that it would need for them to move off of him. It just doesn't seem like there'd be a match right now. I feel like basically anyone, unless someone was like really desperate. I don't know who that would be though.
Yeah, I don't think the Knicks would be desperate. I mean, Dallas, with them kind of meandering around, maybe
that's the other team, but like, okay, so they could trade some firsts now that their pick obligation with the Knicks is going to be finally over. But like Dallas, the Knicks, like I just don't know who the team is that's giving up the real stuff. So I agree with you.
I mean, the Lakers were mentioned about like at Jake Fisher, like, oh, like he'd be a dreamy option for those 2 firsts. But even then, like those Lakers picks, Steph Noem, one of my Bulls guys who writes for Sporting News, wrote a whole thing today about the Lakers first that are like, even with like, when we talk about like DeMar and Vooch, like they're 27 and 2029. Like it's so long away. I just like can't get excited about like if they traded those picks for like traded these guys for whatever first round picks 5 and 7 years away. Like I just can't. Maybe they do have some good value, but like I feel like they are almost like overvalued at this point. So it's like, I mean, I don't know. It's tough. Like I said, I am trying to hold off on just like the whole just blow it up thing because you just never know where it can go. Again, just like it comes like you just never know where it could go with the picks, with the whatever the odds that they have right now. What they would be getting back. I think I would need a lot to do it. And I just don't know if teams are willing to give up to do it. But then it's like, where are they going if they stick with this? Like, if anything, like I think the Vooch, I think you got to try to get something for him. Like if you're going to do anything, you could keep Zach, keep DeMar. Vooch isn't expiring. If they're still not going anywhere, I think you have to trade him. You got to get something. I don't know. I don't think his value is high at all. Like, I don't know what you're getting, but you at least got to get something for him. Like if I don't think you could resign him if the things keep going poorly. You got to shake something up for sure.
Yeah.
So you got to get something for him if things are still going at the deadline for him.
I want to talk about Vooch before I get you out of here, but just real quick on that, the pick situation with like trading for the Lakers picks. And this, I feel like, goes back to your protected pick situation with this pick outside to Orlando. It'd be different if it was like a Harden situation with the Nets trade from a couple of years ago, where it's like you weren't just getting those like future Nets picks, you were also improving your own pick, which there was no question about whether the Rockets were going to end up with that. They had their pick, and they knew if they tanked, they would get a good selection, and they did. With you guys, it's a little bit different. You're just doing it for the Lakers picks, and maybe you end up with your own.
You're right. Yeah, exactly.
I was thinking about Vooch before we came on, and I'm like, I was watching him last night. I mean, the guy's a load.
He had a nice game last night.
Yeah, it was. I mean, Mitchell Robinson, I thought, was doing everything he could, and like he on the most pivotal defensive possession, I would argue, of the game,
swatted him.
He got him, but a bunch of other times, Vooch had his number, and at the same time, he's a guy you have to play at center and doesn't protect the rim, and the 3-point shot, it feels like
it's okay.
But it's like it's not the 3-point shot. I feel like maybe that we perceived it to be, a couple of years ago, and I'm thinking to myself, like, he's going to be a free agent this summer. Like, what team is signing him to start for them? Like, I don't know if that's too harsh, but I feel like, especially like you're the Bulls. Okay, great. You have these two guys in the backcourt. If you want to go forward with them, like, wouldn't this team make so much more sense with more of a defensive minded center in the middle? But then again, I don't know how much does that disrupt your offense. Like, it's a tough spot to be.
Their offense is around like 20th. Their offense is a problem. So like the defense is what's been they're top 10 in defense this season. Their offense stinks. Their offense in the clutch stinks. So like it's so weird that they have this team built with their 3 stars are like offense guys, but their offense stinks. It's just such a weird thing. It's a weird mix. Again, the Lonzo thing factors hugely into this because he's so important with his shooting. They have no 3-point shooting. That's obviously a huge factor. They're bottom in the league in attempts. They're like okay in terms of like percentage wise, but that's been a problem. And like Vooch, like when the Bulls traded for Vooch, and I think at this point everyone is just like that trade was a mistake. What they gave up for him, just probably like the wrong guy to cash in on what they had at that time. They were just desperate with Zach's free agency coming up. They had been going nowhere. New front office comes in trying to make a splash. The 2 first-round picks, and Wendell Carter is now is pretty good player. I mean, you can argue Vooch is probably like a little better, but Wendell's not far behind. And then you're also out the 2 picks. They also traded Otto Porter Jr. as part of that and got back a bad contract in Al-Farouq Aminu. So looking back at it, like a lot of people in hindsight said or a lot of people at the time said it was too much to give up, but like you at least can applaud them for being aggressive because they were going nowhere. It's like, all right, they're going to try this here.
They tried a thing.
They tried a thing. They'd been going bad, but like now in hindsight, especially, it's like they gave up way too much. Like Orlando, they got Wendell, they got Franz Wagner out of it. And now they're going to get they're probably going to get another nice pick here in 2023. So like that looks bad. But when they did trade for Vooch, I mean, he was averaging like 25 and 12 and shooting 40% from 3-point range the season they traded for him. 3-point percentage has come tumbling down. It's been a little better this year than it was last year, but like I think that was a lot of the appeal there. It was like, oh, he's turned himself into like a guy who can play inside and out. He's a good passer. Like he's still a really skilled player, but it's just like with the mix on this team and with him being over 30, and there are too many games where he still just kind of does not do enough. And you talk about like, would it be better with a different type of center there? Like we've been talking about this going back to last year, like on cash considerations and just Bulls fans in general. Like, should they have gone for like Miles Turner, who's been on the trade block forever? Miles Turner's having a great season. He's shooting great from 3, and he's one of the best rim protectors in the league. Like, would that have been a better mix? I don't know. But again, like it's the Bulls offense. The Bulls just needed a bit more shooting on their team. They just don't have enough. And then with Zach being hurt and like Lonzo being gone, it's just like a whole just like mess of factors here that I could rant about forever. But in terms bringing it back to Vooch at this point, like with the way things are going, I don't think you could sign him to a new deal. And like in terms of his market, like, I mean, I could see him being like a 2 or 3 year contract at like 15 million a year, 20 million. Like, is anyone giving him like a 360?
I was going to say like, again, this probably will come back to bite me in the ass, but like is he like a mid-level guy at this point? Like if you're again,
his number, like his production is still good. Like he's averaging like 16 and like 12 and like 3 or 4 assists, like still skilled, like with his passing. So like, I would say a little more than mid-level at least, but like maybe a short-term deal, like like I said, 15, like maybe like 230 or
2 for 30, right?
Something like that. I think I could see that, but I'd be shocked if he got a long-term contract at this point. Like I said, unless someone's really desperate, but I don't know. And at this point, like with the way things are going, it should not be the Bulls. I know there were rumors before the year that maybe they're having contract extension talks. Jake Fisher said in his most recent report that there was really never anything there. There's like nothing going on right now. But then the Bulls, there's nothing going on. But then the Bulls still like think that they can make the playoffs when healthy, but they're not going to be healthy because Lonzo's not there. So it's like, I remember. So what are you going to do?
I remember at some point over the last year, at least once, Mitchell Robinson's name came up in connection with, I think it was a New York beat reporter. I apologize, I forget which one it was, but said like, the Bulls were maybe interested there. So I don't know. Maybe they're thinking about more of a defensive-minded guy. Last one, and then I'm going to get you out of here.
Yep.
Patrick Williams was the 4th pick in the draft now 2.5 years ago. Speaking of Mitchell Robinson, unfortunate that he missed most of last season because of that. I don't think it was any like
not malicious.
It was just bad luck. And now he's back, and like I remember that was like the first draft where I was really like for this podcast, like really trying to go in depth, and like I interviewed one of his college coaches for the show, and like could not have been higher on Patrick Williams. Is there still like that upside expectation of before like he was drafted, or is it just kind of like, now it's more tempered at this point?
So funny. It was literally right before I was coming on this podcast, me and just like our Bulls peeps in our DM group that we had, we're just like talking back and forth about Patrick Williams a ton, because I mean, it's just like a big kind of hinge point on this roster. But it's like, if the Bulls do have any upside, it's like, well, they need Patrick Williams to like take like a big leap. He has not taken a big leap. I don't think that's all on him. Some of it's just the roster, and just doesn't get enough touches. And we kind of saw it last night. He had like a really nice first half. He had 9 points. His 3-point shooting has gotten better. I mean, defensively, I thought he played a pretty great game, doing the switchings, him and Caruso doing the switches with Randall, forcing some tough shots and stuff like that. And like overall, he's gotten better. He's absolutely gotten better since the first couple of years in the league. And obviously didn't play much last year. He's gotten better, but there's just still a lot of questions about just how good he can be offensively. I think defensively, he's showing that he can be like a really solid player. I think he'll have a nice long career.
Oh yeah.
But like in terms of like 4th pick, like will he live up to that? Just like it's hard to say on this team right now, but even then, like he still passes up too many shots. And I was tweeting about this last night, and you look at some of the stats, like the splits. He tends to start games off really well and then just disappears in the second half. Some of that, again, is like DeMar just taking over and doing his thing. But like he passed up a couple open 3-pointers last night in the second half. It's like, Pat, you got to take more. He's shooting like 44% from 3, but he's only taking 3 attempts per game. On this team, he should be taking 5 or 6 because the Bulls need to up their volume. He just needs to be less hesitant, especially in second halves. It would be nice to see him get the ball more in his hands, but like, again, tough when you have these other guys there that need the ball. So like, I've been skeptical of him for a while in terms of like star potential. Do I think like he's going to be like a long-term like player in the NBA? Absolutely. I think defensively, I think he's showing what he can do. He can make threes at a pretty high rate. He has shown some other juice in terms of like, he's got like a nice little mid-range shot. He has had a couple nice moments earlier this year against Jason Tatum. He took him off the dribble, hit some clutch jumpers. We just haven't seen that
flashes,
enough. Flashes. The flashes are very tantalizing. It's just a matter of consistently doing it and putting it all together. It's a tough situation because again, they took him 4th that year before they had kind of started this whole win now thing. But then they do that raw prospect. He was the 2nd youngest player in that draft, but then they flip
21.
Yeah, right. They flip to the win now mode basically the year after, or whatever that season they traded for Vooch. They flip to the win now mode. They keep him around trying to develop him into this whatever next star player, which is just tough. Threading that needle of, we're seeing the Warriors having that issue right now as well. Yep. Threading that needle of trying to win as much as you can while developing a really young raw player, it can really be tough. I feel like they probably should have cashed him. Like there were the Jeremy Grant rumors last year. And Jeremy Grant's been great for Portland this season. Like,
he might be
if they were trying to win, like you can argue they should have cashed him in for a win now player. Now it's like, I don't want to give up on him. A lot of people are like, well, look at Larry Markkinen. Larry Markkinen leaves. Now he's got like a team after after a few more years of development. He's got a team where they're running stuff for him. And now Larry Markkinen's like a borderline all-star. Like, I feel like people are worried that will happen with Patrick Williams. I don't know if he has that kind of scoring juice in him as like a big time consistent scorer, but I didn't think Larry Markkinen really had it in him either, even though he showed more as a Bull.
I was about to say his first year,
he averaged like 17 or 18 one season. So he showed a little bit more, and Pat has not shown that. He's again, like a 9 or 10 point per game consistently these first 3 years. So like, I don't want to give up on Patrick Williams. I'm skeptical of him being like a star player. But I think he could be pretty good. It's just like with the Bulls where they're at, they like need him to be much better in terms of like upside on this roster. It's just, I don't know if it's going to happen soon. It's been a slow development process. So it's like, it's a really tough situation. Like I said, I mean, it's a big, just a talking point with Bulls fans, and just where they like, do they try to go even more all in? It doesn't seem like they do, because I think this front office really values Pat since he was their first like high pick. It seems like they just really high value, and I just don't know if they will actually trade him unless it was for like a legit star. So maybe they would at some point if they do look to blow it up. They try to build a team around like with him and some of the other younger guys. I don't know, but I don't want to be like call him like a bust or anything. Like he's still I think he's kind of developing into like a nice young player. He's still 21. Hopefully he keeps getting better. I would love to see more consistent effort, because again, he only had 2 rebounds last night. Bulls got smoked. The Knicks smoked the Bulls on the glass. That's been an issue. Just the general, it's like too many times he still just doesn't do enough. Not always on him, but he's got to just have that energy and consistent effort way more, and just looking to do more stuff himself.
Well, I said it on our playback last night. I think the Bulls are, for me personally, the most fascinating situation in the NBA, just because of everything you've been talking about, the different directions that they could go, the pivot points they have. If they did decide to go in one direction or another, there's interesting names on both ends of the spectrum, between the veterans, between, again, the younger guys. We didn't even talk about Ayo, who I guess might be back on Friday. I don't know. Yeah,
I think he's still probably up in the air since he didn't play last night.
He's really good. Kobe White making an appearance. You know,
he played well yesterday.
Yeah,
Kobe's kind of whatever at this point. Like, I thought he was going to be 40%
from the field is not ideal. So but no, it bears watching. Like I said, I don't expect to win 2 in a row in Chicago, but you never know. I appreciate you coming on and giving us some insight into the team that we're playing this week. Before I let you go, just let the folks at home know where they could find you and your stuff.
Absolutely. You can follow me at Bulls_J. I'm at Clutch Points, and then Cash Considerations, Chicago Bulls podcast, part of the Great Blue Wire Network. And that's it. Thank you for having me so much. Always good talking.
Of course. I would say I wish you better luck and circumstances the next time we talk, but I don't like to lie to my guests, so I'm not going to say that. I wish you less stress. How about that? That's if
the Bulls do lose again tomorrow night, I will probably start teetering on the edge of blow it up, because like 2 home losses to the Knicks will have, even though the Knicks have been better lately, still I'll be like, man, 11-17, 2 home losses to the Knicks. I might get my hand close to that panic button.
Start checking Tankathon. All right, Jason, thanks so much, man. Appreciate it.